Hi, I'm Chanel, one of the journalists at Manx Radio. Welcome to the latest edition of Manx Radio Newscast. Can I start with your name, please?
Yes, it's Chloe Love.
Now, Chloe, I understand you want to chat to us about your endometriosis journey and give us a little update on what's been going on.
So when I spoke to you last, it would have been a year ago. I would have had my surgery in the November 23, seen the specialist in January and was then discharged. Since then, it's not been the best of journeys. With being discharged in January, I was then told if I had any issues, just go back, ask your GP to re-refer you back, which every time I went to see a locum to say, look, my symptoms aren't that great, because the surgery I'm at, I don't think the resident doctor is there. There's always locums, so continuity of care is a bit of an issue. But every time I'd see a locum, they'd say, oh, you've just been put on a new contraceptive, so you've got to wait at least 3 to 6 months before we can look to see if you need anything else, or anything like that. So after waiting until the summer, I started to say, look, I'm still experiencing cramps, my symptoms are still there. And there was concern there, but I think a lot of people didn't really know what to do, because in their eyes I'd had the surgery done, and I was on the pill. Problem solved. Problem wasn't solved. The long and short of it was I'd started to have quite a lot of bleeding, and that went on for a month, continuous. And despite going back to the doctor's surgery, they referred me in August to go back to the gynae department. And I got an appointment through in the August for April 2025. And I was told that the wait wasn't that long. I'd get seen relatively quickly. I didn't expect it to be that long of a wait, I'll be honest, considering nothing that I was given would stop the bleeding. So it became a bit of a vicious cycle, where it got quite frustrating, because I found it really difficult to work, because with the bleeding I would get really quite severe cramps with it, and the painkillers that I took, if I had to work I couldn't take them because they'd make me drowsy. And yes, when I did take them they would knock the edge off it a bit, but quite often I'd find that I'd just be unable to move. I'd have to just lay in bed and wait for it to pass, because I felt that physically sick and unwell. I just couldn't move, and it's quite difficult to try and say that to your employer. They did understand, but I think there's only so much that people can sort of understand, especially if they haven't been through it. But yeah, long and short of it was I ended up being anemic, and I had to chase so many times to ask to get bloods done, and by the point it was done it was quite bad, to the point where I was out of breath in bed. I just had no iron left. Yeah, and then the GPs kept trying to expedite the appointment to move it forward. Nothing. No response. I would try and ring the secretary of the gynae department. I'd leave messages, ring, no response. Nobody would answer my messages that I left. So it became very frustrating. And the bleeding stopped, but the pain just carried on, to the point where I'm now in a new job, and thankfully that my new employer is very understanding. It's just difficult to manage the pain and the symptoms when you're trying to work 40 hours a week, because then I'm finding that I'm literally doing all I can to make sure I'm in the office and I'm working, and then by the time it's the end of the day it's like, right, I need to go home and just flop and become a vegetable. It's hard to manage it, really. I was trying to push for tests you can't really do very much if you're not under a specialist. I did have a locum refer me for an ultrasound, and I managed to see Miss Salmon in February. I had the ultrasound done the Friday before, when I found out that my left ovary is stuck to my womb with adhesions, which shocked me. I'll be completely honest, I did not expect that, because in their eyes I was under control, or my symptoms were supposedly under control because I was on the pill. But clearly the pill it wasn't enough. So that was a shock to the system, because then I'm thinking, what are the implications of this? Because it's like, well, I guess that explains the amount of pain I'm in, because if things are stuck together and they shouldn't be, that would make sense. But the lack of concern for the implications it would hold for my fertility, considering I saw a female specialist, shocked me. During that appointment, now either she hadn't read that report from the ultrasound, or she had and she hadn't read the whole thing, whatever the reason is. When I said in the scan they found ovary stuck to my womb, she's like, oh, can't see it in the report. You know, if they tell you that, then they should write it down. And then she skimmed read and found it. Oh, yeah, there it is. And that just got me thinking, well, if I hadn't have heard the lady doing the scan saying that, I would have gone into that appointment none the wiser, and then she might not have mentioned it, and then I'd be like, oh, there's no reason for the pain I'm in. Just have to get on with it. When in fact, there's a very good reason. So yeah, it's been not the outcome I was hoping for, a year on from when I last spoke to you. And to kind of add insult to injury, I got a follow-up appointment to discuss the results of an MRI. The appointment is the middle of December, which is 9 months away. And by this point, I have no faith in the gynecology department, to be honest, because I'm thinking, how can this be right? Discount the pain side of it, because everyone says it's subjective and all of that. What about my fertility? Because not once have I been told, oh, no, you know, that could damage your fertility. I've had to do research. It could make me infertile or reduce my fertility. And as a 30-year-old woman, that's not what I want to be hearing. And it's just a lack of concern. And to be honest, I'm quite scared. There seems to be no thought for how it impacts you as a person as a whole. Like, yeah, okay, try and diminish the level of pain that I'm in, fine. That's just something I've had to kind of accept with whoever I end up seeing. It's, oh, just take some paracetamol. Love, if paracetamol would have worked, I wouldn't be here.
I know you say you've lost faith, or you have very little faith. Have you tried to write to anyone, speak to anyone, try to get anything done?
Last year, I wrote to MCALS because not being able to get hold of the secretary when I was consistently told, you need to speak to the secretary if you need to get this appointment sorted, and was told that the particular person who was dealing with it was away, and whoever was in her place couldn't find my messages. And I'm like, well, that's funny you should say that. Like, where did they go? Have they just disappeared? Because I definitely did leave messages. And yeah, it kind of just, nothing else happened after that. I'm just now at a point where I don't know who to reach out to. I have been talking with the Manx Endometriosis support group, and they've been amazing. And upon doing research from what they've shared with me and then looking up, it's called Nancy's Nook. And from all the research that both Karen and Sharon have done and what I've looked into, on the island, when they do laparoscopies, they use ablation, which is when they burn away the tissue or whatever they want to remove. But on research that's not the best. It gives you a more likelihood of it recurring because you're not removing everything. Whereas if you excise or basically cut it out, there is a more likelihood that it won't recur. So it's just messy. It's really complicated, and it's got to the point where if there's specialist centres in the UK, why can't I just be referred to them? Be treated as a whole person rather than just, they paracetamol, just get on with it until you're 40 and then we'll do a hysterectomy. No, there isn't a cure for endometriosis, so telling me that I can have a hysterectomy once I'm 40, it's not going to cure it.
When we spoke a year ago, I know you were, you shared your story with us, but you were also a little bit more hopeful because we had the formation of the Manx Endometriosis Support Group. We had the founders of the group, contacting Manx Care and, trying to get the ball rolling and trying to get a permanent consultant or a specialist on the island. Looking back now, 12 months later, do you feel as though there's been some improvement, or is it still the same, or has it taken a few steps back? I don't know. What is your kind of feeling?
I think personally, for me, and given what I've heard from the group as well, I'd say it's got worse. I can't believe that I've just been left like this, and I'm expected to carry on working and contributing to society and just carry on as if nothing's wrong when I am in a lot of pain and I've got to just crack on with it. There's a lot of unknowns, which doesn't help, but it just seems like you just push aside and the next available appointment is in December. Really? 9 months away? And then you have the whole thing of, you can see said specialist privately a lot sooner. I've been told that, and I'm like, but that's not right. I know it happens, but it shouldn't be like that.
I know you mentioned they have said you can get seen to by a specialist privately. Is that an option that you would consider, or is that an option that you could afford to consider?
It's an option I've definitely considered. I've considered going and getting a scan and an appointment done at the endometriosis clinic in London, which I could save up for, but I think by the end of the day, including flights and stuff, it would cost about £1,000, which is a lot. And then, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have surgery done by a specialist who really knows what they're looking for, and they've got multidisciplined surgeons, because it can get anywhere. It can, involve the bowel, it can involve the bladder, it can end up in the diaphragm. And they have surgeons that can do that. But here, my confidence isn't there for that. And that would cost, I think, anything between £10,000 and £20,000. And I don't have that money.
March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. You're sitting here having this interview, calling for better care, for more concern to be shown by your healthcare professionals. How does it make you feel that this is the month where you're trying to raise more awareness and highlight it, but it seems as though you're here crying out, screaming out for help?
Given we're in 2025, it seems mad that women are still having to do this, and considering 1 in 10 women are affected, why is it this bad? In the news, Manx Care has been struggling with resources and it's low staffing levels. But if so many women are suffering, if Manx Care is struggling, why can't they refer to the UK where you can be looked at a specialist centre? I mean, I don't know the financial implications or anything like that, but it's just mad.
What's your message to Manx Care?
Please help. It just seems so frustrating. I've fought this for years and I'm still fighting for it now. I'm doing all I can. I'm going to my GP surgery to get checkups. I'm working with a nutritionist. I'm trying everything. I'm trying herbal remedies as well, TENS machine, you name it, I've probably tried it. So it's not like I'm not helping myself. And I just wish that we could be helped. I think it's just shocking that this is happening. I would never have thought that, having been told that my ovaries stuck to my womb, that I would just be sent on my way and told to just, oh, I'll see you when you get the results back, and then be sent an appointment for December.
When doing your research, in terms of the ovary stuck to the womb, what kind of findings, is it something that needs to be treated like pretty immediately, or?
From what I understand, it needs to be dealt with relatively quickly because there's risk of it like getting twisted and then the blood flow being cut off. And I know that's very worst case scenario, but that risk is there. And to just leave it for 9 months and then God knows how long the wait would be after that to potentially get a surgery booked in. It's just mad. I'd just like to thank the Manx Endometriosis support group for everything they've done, because without them I wouldn't have a tenth of the knowledge that I have now, and they have helped me so much more than the gynecology department have.
How does it make you feel, that you have to rely on other people's experiences and social media as opposed to being able to contact your local gynae to get a more educated answer?
I mean, I'm so grateful to them, but I feel bad that I'm relying on them when they've got their own personal lives and their own health issues to deal with. And in this day and age, given technology and everything, you think that we would have medical professionals who we could turn to for that, but we don't have it.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio Newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.